Well, some new questions now on a way forward in our showdown with Iran after what's been quite a week, really, in the news. Iran's president, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, coming off a historic visit to Egypt, the first diplomatic visit of its kind in more than 30 years. In the meantime, this week, the United States is introducing some new sanctions against Iranian companies to try and force Iran back to the bargaining table over its nuclear program. Talks were set to begin again at the end of this month. However, Iran's supreme leader flat out rejecting direct talks with the United States, saying direct talks won't solve any problems. Mark Dubowitz is the executive director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And Mark, I can't help it, but that story that we just told about the girl flipping off the judge, sort of it's a weird metaphor, if you will, to a rogue nation really not playing very nice with the United States. Why now does the Ayatollah come out and say, I'm not talking. I don't know what you guys are thinking, but we're not talking.
Yeah, well, Ali Khamenei has definitely flipped America the Persian bird. I mean, I think that he is absolutely not committed to negotiations. And American diplomacy has consisted of 3 decades of essentially one word, and that word is hi. Hi, we're ready to talk. We're ready to negotiate. We're ready to settle this big misunderstanding. Ali Khamenei is not interested in talking. He sees the American touch as toxic to his Islamic revolution.
But we keep on hearing from this administration, Joe Biden actually just said it last weekend, you know, we're not interested in having an exercise of a talk, just showing up and saying hello, if you will. But there's still time. There's still time for diplomacy. There's still time to work this out. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's time, but, you know, we've been talking to the Iranians for 10 years, and in the process, they've been building their nuclear weapons capability. And we've done some estimates that suggest by July 2014, the Iranians would have reached the stage of critical capability where they can assemble a bomb's worth of weapons-grade uranium without Western intelligence services or the International Atomic Agency being able to detect that Iranian breakout. So we're running out of time. Iranian physics is beating Western economic pressure.
How good is our intelligence now?
Well, our intelligence is pretty good, but the problem is by the time we reach about July 2014, the Iranians will be able to break out in 10 to 14 days. So they'll be able to break out in between visits by the IAEA. And at that point, that breakout time is so quick that we won't be able to respond with military pressure or any other kind of coercive instrument.
You know, we thought it was interesting to just take a step back after seeing the visit to Egypt by Mahmoud Ahmadinejad this week, and then the sanctions, and then seeing these comments from the Ayatollah. You know, you're deeply involved in this subject matter, Mark. When you see a week like this, what is the big takeaway for the American people? What should we really take away from a week like this in international news with Iran?
Well, I think the big takeaway is that we're heading for a major confrontation with this Iranian regime. You know, the administration has tried diplomacy, we've tried sanctions, we've tried cyber attacks. There have been assassinations of Iranian nuclear physicists, reportedly by the Israelis. We've really tried everything to avoid military conflict, but Iran keeps moving forward, and Iran, this supreme leader, seems deeply committed to building a nuclear weapon. I'm afraid that within coming months, we may face military confrontation.
Mark Dubowitz with FTD. Mark, great to see you as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Jana. Appreciate it.